So here are commands 6 through 8. We've covered a few of them up until now. Now we're hitting 6, 7, and 8 all together. Here you go. Excuse me. Commands 6, 7, 5, 6. What am I? 6 through 9. I counted wrong. Okay, so on the green thing with the big font on your note sheet where it says 6 through 8, cross out that 8. We're actually going through 9. So here you go. 6 through 9, here you go. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. Short, sweet, easy. We're done. Go home. No, just kidding. Today is one of those landmark moments in every church's life where the pastor takes something very, very tiny and expands it for like 30 minutes. So we're going to do that today because there's this amazing passage of Scripture that as I was looking at these verses, I found this other passage of Scripture that is amazing. But before we get to that other one, I want to draw your attention to the fact that if you were to quiz yourself on the 10 Commandments, you probably knew these ones cold. You probably knew that in the 10 Commandments it says don't kill or don't murder. It says don't steal. It says don't commit adultery. You probably knew these ones absolutely like the back of your hand. And you knew that somewhere in there was something about lying. You might not have known that it was don't give false testimony against your neighbor, those exact words, but you knew there was something in there about lying. Every time I talk to someone about the 10 Commandments, these are the ones they know. These are the ones that are easy to remember, and in fact, these are the ones that we all pat ourselves on the back for keeping. You know, we say, oh yeah, that's right, I'm not a murderer. Oh yeah, that's right, I'm not a thief. Oh yeah, that's right, I haven't ever had an affair with someone, and that's okay, you know, even if I had, I was able to rationalize it or something. We pat ourselves on the backs for these kinds of things because they're so short, we can read them, think we're doing all right, and move right on. But check out this passage here. Jesus referred to these commandments when he said this. But the things that come out of the mouth come from the heart, and these make a man unclean. For out of the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false testimony, and slander. And if you're paying attention, you would recognize that Jesus lists 6 through 9 in order. Murder, adultery, and sexual immorality, he puts them next to each other. Theft, and then false testimony and slander, he puts them next to each other. Jesus lists 6 through 9 together, and he says that they are the results of something that's in a person's heart. Oh, it's easy for us to pat ourselves on the back and say, I've never killed anyone. But what Jesus is saying here is there is something lying deep in a person's heart that has the power to produce murder. There's something lying in a person's heart that has the power to produce adultery and theft and all these other things. And so I ask you the question again, if you knew there was something in your life that was keeping you from living the life God designed you to live, would you be willing to dig it out? Would you be willing to walk the hard road of removing it? I read these words and I kind of get scared because what it's telling me is that there's something in my heart, perhaps, that could lead me down a path where I would be guilty of any one of these things that I have a tendency to think I'm doing all right in. That's a threatening, dangerous kind of thing. And so today I figure we have to deal with this. We have to say, okay, what is the stuff beneath the surface? If I track this command all the way back down into my heart, what am I going to find? Am I going to find something in my heart that produces this kind of stuff? And so that's what we're going to try to do today. We're going to try to dig into that. And so I'm just going to start out right at the beginning here, and I'm going to tell you what that thing is in our heart. And then I'm going to try to prove it to you for the next 20 minutes or so. But the thing in our hearts is this. Our hearts want to shortcut God's path for us. I'm going to have to explain this a little bit as we go through these different commands, but as we move through them, hopefully this will make sense to you. Our hearts want to shortcut God's path for us. So let's just dig right on in. What we're going to do is we're going to deal with each one of these commands in order, and we're going to dig down deeper into them. We're going to start with murder. We're going to dig down deeper into this whole notion of killing people and try to find out what is it that's under the surface of our lives that might lead us to that. The rest of the Bible verses are on your note sheet, so I invite you to look there with me. In Matthew 5:21 through 22, Jesus digs down below the surface of this do not murder command, and he gives us some details on what's in our hearts. He says this, "You've heard that it was said to the people long ago, 'Do not murder. And anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you that anyone who is angry with his brother will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to his brother, Raka,' that's like a kind of a curse word in Aramaic. Raka is answerable to the Sanhedrin, and that's the governing board of religious leaders. But anyone who says, 'You fool,' will be in danger of the fire of hell. If you curse at someone, the earthly magistrates might slap your wrist. If you call them a fool, you might go to hell." That's what Jesus is saying here. He's saying there's something in the heart of a person that is equivalent to murder. Something in the heart of a person. And he begins with this word, anyone who is angry with his brother. Anger. I find anger to be a very interesting emotion. On the one hand, it's the emotion we're most aware of in the sense of we feel it the most strongly. You're driving down the road, someone cuts you off, you feel anger. Someone is in a parking lot and they open their door and ding your car. You feel angry. You're walking along and you hear someone out of the corner of your ear yell a swear word at someone else, and you're with your children and you feel somehow that was wrong and you feel angry. You're watching your favorite sports team on television getting pummeled by the other team and you feel angry. We feel anger all the time, but here's the thing. We are very uncomfortable admitting it. We're very uncomfortable admitting that we're angry or that we're mad, number one. And number two, none of us has a clue how to understand anger. Unless you've had a lot of psychological counseling experience, or maybe you've studied this stuff for a while. It's taken me a long time to try to figure out what anger is really all about. But I'm going to give you a freebie today. I'm going to tell you exactly what anger is.